Hello and welcome to the Newsome MMA Betting Podcast. I'm your host as always, Newsome, and in this episode I'm joined by the MMA trader Stuart, who'll be breaking down UFC 222 with me. So you're back on the podcast again, Stuart. How's it going, man?
It's all good. I feel like the Joe Rogan of this thing. Show up for the pay-per-views, even though no one really wants me anymore.
Exactly, yeah. I'm always looking to replace you, but for now you'll do. Um, so
I'll take it. I'll take it.
um, moving straight into the fight breakdowns, as always. Me and Stuart have got our bets together. We'll be breaking those down in full for you. Anything else that is on the card that we haven't bet on, we'll just quick fire off at the end. We'll give you a winner, potential finish, and a reason why ultimately we've passed on the bet, because the passing game is important in the betting game. So the first breakdown is the co-main event of the evening. We've got Frankie Edgar versus Brian Ortega. Now, this is my bet. I've got 4 units on Frankie Edgar. I got him at -169 and -162. So I put a little bit on to start with, just to gauge. I was happy with the 169, but just to gauge, see where the line went, and it dropped down to -162 with Betfair, which I think that line's actually changed now. So just dropped an extra unit on that, and I'm really confident in Frankie in this fight. And just one thing to point out straight away: if you're a previous listener and you've listened to my other podcast, you'll know that I bet Cub Swanson against Brian Ortega in their last fight as well. So you'll actually hear a lot of similarities in the way that I think Frankie will approach the fight and will actually win the fight, to the way that I thought Cub was going to win. The difference being with the Cub fight is I gave Cub the benefit of the doubt in the fact that I didn't think he would do anything stupid. I thought he would be a bit smarter. He'd use his fight IQ, his vet experience, just to get him through that fight, and ultimately that just wasn't the case, and it did bite me on the night. Not too bad. I still profited on that night. Still cashed a couple of other bets, so that was all good. It didn't hurt as much as what it probably should have done, but ultimately, the benefit of the doubt that I gave Cub, it just didn't really pull through. But it's a little different here in Frankie Edgar, because Frankie Edgar is, I can't say he's in his prime, but he is still, he's not lost it. He's not digressing. Like you could argue Cub was. That was Cub's last fight on his contract, I believe, as well. So there was that at the side of it. It's a little bit different with Edgar. He's supposed to have been fighting Max Holloway for the title twice now, pulled out both times. Well, sorry, he pulled out the first time, Max pulled out the second time, but now he's got Brian Ortega, who's, he's got a bit of a hype train going. If you don't know about Brian Ortega, he tends to be losing most of his fights until he capitalises on a mistake or an error, or just something that really presents themselves to him as a gift almost, and jumps on it and gets the finish. The dude's got legit Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I mean legit jiu-jitsu. I'm not taking this bet lightly. I know exactly what Brian Ortega's about. I know what he's going to bring to the table. I know what he's going to try and do to Frankie Edgar. But ultimately, in to counteract that jiu-jitsu, Frankie Edgar's got a legit Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt under Ricardo Almeida. It's not one that's handed to him in a Kinder Egg or whatever, like some UFC fighters. It's been earned over the years, and Ricardo Almeida's a respected practitioner in jiu-jitsu as well. So I do have faith that not Frankie Edgar's better on the ground than Ortega, especially in the grappling and jiu-jitsu, because that's not true. But I just think it's enough for him to not get caught out, or even if he does make a slight mistake, just to be able to get out of it a little more comfortably than what maybe Cub would have been able to do. And I don't even think it's the fight's actually going to hit the floor. Frank Edgar doesn't generally make too many errors. He does play to his strengths. He does game plan. He does stick to his best path to victory in most of his fights, and I think that's what's important in this fight. And although he's a D1 wrestler, world class wrestler, takes down pretty much everyone that he fights, I think he's going to keep this fight standing, where he is going to be the better boxer. He is going to be quicker. The main thing for me here as well is it's 3 rounds rather than 5. For me, the fight would have been better as a spectacle with it being 5 rounds, but I think 3 rounds really, really does benefit Edgar. Edgar's got good cardio anyway. He's used to going 5 rounds pretty hard. 3 rounds, he's going to be able to go 100% all 3 rounds. So, I don't see him slowing down. I don't see him gassing. That side of it's really good from Edgar's point of view. I think he's just going to be in and out of the pocket. I think he's going to be using really, really low kicks. Got to be careful of how high he does throw them, though. If he does start going a bit high, I think that'll be stupid. He could end up getting taken down. But then again, Ortega doesn't have a great takedown percentage per fight. He doesn't pursue the takedown, which for me he should really work on his wrestling and his takedown game, because that's what Damian Maia did, and Damian Maia now gets fighters down and submits them. He's not always stuck trying to get the fight to where he wants it to be. But I just think Edgar's going to box him up here. He's going to be quicker. And is the more technical striker, and I think you saw the level of Ortega striking against Cub, because I know Cub lost the fight, but before he lost the fight, he was landing some good strikes. He was in and out, hitting to the body, mixing in combinations, and Ortega really struggled to sort of grasp that level of striking. But Edgar's a level above Cub in the striking department. He's quicker, his boxing's better, his combinations are better, he's smarter. So I just think that, again, it's not really giving a benefit of the doubt to Edgar that he won't do anything stupid, because he's not known for his bad fight IQ. But I just don't, unless he does something stupid, which I don't think he's going to do. And again, these are similarities of what I've said with Cub. I just don't see him losing the fight in any way. I don't think he will go for a takedown. But if he does go for a takedown, as long as he can get Ortega flat on his back without giving up a lazy arm or sticking a neck in, keeping a neck inside, again, I think his wrestling can be enough to smother Ortega's ground game, especially if Edgar got the takedown and landed in half guard or side control. Yes, the sweep potential's greater from those positions, but the submitting from the bottom is harder as you're moving up the proverbial pyramid in the jiu-jitsu game. So yeah, I've got 4 units on Frankie Edgar, and I think he's going to win a 30-27 decision. I was speaking to somebody earlier today that was saying they're really excited for the fight. I personally think it's going to be a quite plain, simple, boring fight, that Edgar goes in there, does what he needs to do, and comes out with the win. And I think it'll sort of leave people thinking, oh shit, well, yeah, that was obvious. So yeah, I mean, like I say, 4 units, Frankie Edgar, really, really confident. Potentially, if this line gets really disrespected and he does get down to like the minus 150 range, I probably will throw another unit on it as well. I'm that confident. So, what about you, Stuart?
As you said, like, this really came down to whether it was going to be the main event of this card or whether it was going to be the co-main, because 3 rounds and 5 rounds is a hell of a long time for a fighter like Ortega. My mind says Edgar should walk this. 30-27s across the board, easy peasy, no worries. But my gut says that Ortega's the first guy to finish Frankie Edgar. Ortega just has that game-changing finishing ability that I don't think anyone else in the division currently has. Maybe even in the UFC has. He's got that Yoel Romero kind of just out of nowhere, fight's over. Doesn't matter if he's losing, doesn't matter if he's winning. It's just over like that. And as you said, Frankie Edgar is pretty much better everywhere apart from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. Ortega isn't even that great at his wrestling or his boxing. He's not. They're not top 15 quality, I wouldn't even say. But like, his finishing ability is the elite of the elite when it comes to just mixed martial arts in general. So, and we've seen Frankie Edgar be dropped a number of times. He's never been finished. His recovery is amazing. But Ortega's, because of how lethal his ground game is, it allows him to throw some crazy stuff on the feet. Because if his opponent decides to shoot on him, well, now you're playing in Ortiz City's world. He doesn't mind that. So if he throws something crazy, catches Edgar off guard, and he gets dropped momentarily, that's all Ortega needs to wrap up a neck or an arm or anything and just get him out of there. So yeah, when this fight got announced, I was like, no way Edgar's going to lose this fight. No way. I thought the lines were about right. So I haven't bet it. Plus, I ain't ever betting against Ortega because I ain't got time for that stress. Having to worry for the whole 15, 25 minutes, wondering if my fighter who's 2, 3, 4 rounds up is going to be able to make it to the end.
Well, that's the thing, and I mean, you've said it there. It's not going to be 3, 4 rounds up because it's
Well,
not
it'll
a
be 2
5-round
rounds
fight.
up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It definitely benefits Edgar. If this was 5 rounds and these are the lines right now, I'm all over TC. I'm all over him. But 3 rounds is different, and Edgar is super disciplined. But
I think this
as I said, my head says Edgar, 30-27s. No worries. Simple. My gut says Ortega's going to pull something out of his ass.
Well, I think this is a case of DC said it perfectly in his fight against Volkan Ozdemir. There's levels to MMA, and I think the similarities here between the difference in skill level and experience level of what DC was to Ozdemir. So like, Ozdemir was running through the fighters behind DC. Fair enough, fair play, and his shot. And I think the same thing with Ortega. He's beaten Cub Swanson, who's on his way out. That it wasn't an awful bet from me, but it probably I put 4.5 units on that fight. It shouldn't have been that much. That is the one thing that I will say. He's beaten Renato Moicano. He's beaten Clay Guida. He's beaten.
And let's just say, Clay Guida has looked fantastic. So I know some people were saying, oh, his win over Clay Guida was nothing. He was losing to Clay Guida. Clay Guida's looked better than ever recently.
No, but yeah, so, I agree with you. But Clay Guida's still at that sort of mid to high level. But then now he's fighting Frankie Edgar, who is a fucking huge step above everybody that he's fought. And this is what I mean. It was similar to, like I say, similar to the Volkan DC fight, and I had a lot of money on DC. So originally I was. Volkan was looking for that one shot, that one opportunity to land on DC, but ultimately the experience and the quality of DC pulled through. And I see a similar thing here. Ortega will be coming out for that one opportunity, and Edgar's just go on.
I completely disagree with that. Like, Ozdemir is Ozdemir. Like, he had that one chance in the first round, and if his power was what we thought it would be, maybe he'd do something. He didn't. T-City doesn't have that one shot. He can pull anything out from anywhere. Jumping, standing, guillotine, flip reversal, magic rubbish.
But he can do that against the lower end of the division. This is what I'm saying. Volkan didn't have that power, but he had enough power to beat the well, when I say lower end of the division, just below where his opponent is. So Volkan was able to do that to opponents below the skill, the quality, the experience of DC. Same with Ortega. He has that ability to do that against the quality of opponent under Frankie Edgar. But then you hit that wall, you hit that brick wall where you're actually fighting a guy that's got the vet experience. He's been in there, he's seen pretty much everything. Has he seen a Brian Ortega before with this sort of jiu-jitsu? Probably not, granted, but he's gonna have the fight IQ, he's gonna have the game plan. He's got this. It's not as if like he's got to. All fights start standing up, so it's not as if he's got to avoid a hard shot. He's just got to avoid not doing anything stupid. And when has Frankie Edgar ever got himself into trouble by doing anything that he shouldn't have done?
I don't think stupid. I think if he gets just... We've seen Edgar get dropped a lot.
Yeah,
like, never finished, a lot. And that's it. That's all
Ortega don't need a lot. Fucking strikers, though, at the division above where he's at. So like
Ortega can hit hard. I am fully on the believer that Ortega can hit crazy stuff and take you off guard. I mean, you watched that Thiago Tavares fight. Like, he was throwing some mental crazy stand-up stuff. That knee that took out Guida was ridiculous.
Well, the knee that took out Guida was an upwards knee against a ducking Guida. It wasn't as if like he put a lot of velocity into it. It was the forward momentum plus the striking at the right specific time. But like, I mean, I'm genuinely going to ask this question because I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. So maybe you'll be able to help me out. But apart from Gray Maynard, who was a fucking hard hitting lightweight, 155er, who's Edgar being dropped by?
I'm pretty sure Jeremy Stevens dropped him.
Okay, that's Jeremy Stevens. He's one of the fucking hardest hitters I think
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah,
okay,
you're right.
yeah, fair
Jeremy
point.
Stevens did drop him 100%, but he is a fucking hard hit, and we've seen what that guy's doing lately. So the Edgar's been getting dropped. I agree with you. If Ortega somehow manages to drop Edgar and dazes him, fucking absolutely. He might not be able to finish him with punches because Edgar recovers quick, but
Yeah,
he's got that time
I
to
think
wrap
this is
something up.
sub or nothing.
Absolutely, but I don't think he hits as hard as the Edgar's going to have been hit harder than what Ortega can hit for sure. I'm really
See,
confident in that.
I am in the mind that Edgar should win this. Edgar should win this. 30-27s should all day win this. But I'm done with even considering picking against Ortega at this point. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
you
done.
know I get
Just
that.
done. The line looks about right to me. If for some reason the Ortega inside the distance line is a bit high, because I don't see Ortega winning a round. Like, let's get
Yeah,
over that.
absolutely.
We know that's not
This is a
happening.
betting podcast. If you want to bet Ortega, do not
You inside
fucking
the
bet him
distance.
outright. Yeah.
No. He's not winning a round. That's not going to happen. He's going to pull something out of his bum, and I think he can do it.
Well, I think you're wrong, but we'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't have money on it because I'm waiting for that insight. Wait, actually, I think it's just come out. 1 second, what have we got here? Ortega inside the Ortega inside the distance is plus 306, and
Fucking
that
hell.
is tempting. I
That's
mean,
almost. I could
you
hedge
could
that.
even hedge that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. Like, I might even that's yeah, I like that.
Well, I mean, I think from my 4 units on Edgar, I think that brings back 2.3 units. So, I mean, technically, if I wanted to be a bit of a pussy, I could drop 2 units on that Ortega inside the distance to win. What would that be? Like that would be like 6 units returns, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, nah, I'm not gonna do it because I don't see him winning. But like I say, if you
Well, if
bet
you
not,
put one, that covers your Frankie Edgar bet completely, or nearly.
no, yeah, it doesn't though. It'll just make a very slight loss. But I'm not about hedging
I'm
anyway.
I'm all about that. I think I'm gonna have to play that
I
myself.
mean, if you're a live bettor and you're
Oh yeah,
watching your fight and you can see your fighter losing and you want to hedge, great. I get that. I completely understand it. But what I don't understand is why you would do the tape, the research, the study, and you'd be confident enough. Because let's be honest, you don't bet every fight. So the fights you do bet,
no.
they're going to be your confident bets. So for me, I don't understand why you go through all that process to bet your fighter to then hedge it with a unit or two the other way just because you're now a bit worried. I
I
don't get that.
I would agree with you if I'm betting anyone except for if they're fighting a guy like Yoel Romero or Brian Ortega.
Yeah, but then why?
Because
Like
when
you've
it gets
passed
to
on,
round 3 and they pull out their ass,
but you've
it's
passed
gonna
on this bet for that
annoy me.
reason. Like
Yeah, I
if
know.
that was a
But now
worry
I see.
for you, if that was a worry for you that you're worried about your fighter getting caught, you shouldn't have put that bet on anyway. Like I don't think
Yeah.
Frank Edgar's gonna get
Oh,
caught. So do you get what I mean?
yeah, I get you. I mean, that's why I didn't bet Rockhold. Rockhold is the better fighter, but that chin is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
bad, so bad. But yeah, I like that. Ortega inside the distance plus 306 for me.
That's 100% got more value
That's a
than
high line.
Ortega at plus
I don't think
160 or
that's
whatever
gonna
it is.
stay.
So yeah, I think that'll get bet down, but I don't think it'll get bet down that much. I think we'll probably end up seeing that about plus 225. I think that'll be where it probably settles at. But even still, at plus 225 has more value than Ortega straight at plus
Yeah,
160 or 155 or whatever he is right now. So
he's going down more and more.
well, if that's the case, I'm gonna end up sticking more on Frank Edgar because
Yeah.
five
Okay.
rounds, five rounds, I'd be a bit more hesitant. But over 3 rounds, he only just did it against Moicano, and that's because fucking Moicano shot a takedown and left his neck in there. That's the only reason Brian Ortega beat Renato Moicano. The only
Yeah, but
reason.
Brian Ortega knew he was going to do that. You
Fuck
heard.
off.
He's a
No, he
point
didn't.
fighter. He said afterwards he's a point fighter. He's going to try and secure a takedown round 3 to secure the fight. He waited for it, took it, beat him.
And hindsight's a fucking beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a hindsight. But when you've just come out of a fight, adrenaline pumping, and you'll be able to say in your Colombo voice with your cigar sticking out your mouth, I knew I was going to beat him all along. Like,
Yeah.
he knew he was doing that.
I still can't believe he shot that takedown, man. He didn't need to. It's not as if he was getting pounded on the feet and it were a panic shot. He was beating him the third rounders, but that's a different fight. And let's be honest,
Yeah.
if let's take this all the way back. Just I know you can always say ifs and buts and hindsight and all this, but if Moicano didn't shoot that takedown, Ortega wouldn't be
Yeah.
in the position he's in right now.
There's a lot of if, buts, and should with Ortega, but at the end of the day, there's one certainty, and that man's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is elite.
And we'll end it there with
Yeah.
a nice Edgar win.
Okay.
We'll move on to the next one. So I believe we've both got a bet on this. So I spoke a lot in the Edgar fight. I'll let you jump in on this one. We've got Kat Zingano against Ketlan Vieira.
I mean, where do you start with this one? The line's gone down a bit since I bet it. I've got one unit, Ketlan Vieira, minus 125. Kat Zingano, she was great 4 years ago in the women's bantamweight division, the Wild West. I mean, that's a long ass time ago. Back then, you had Ronda Rousey, who's now a professional wrestler, dominating everyone. There's a difference in time period. Women's MMA, while a lot of it is still tosh, like you can still beat pretty much everyone. Back then, you could beat anyone if you were really good at one thing, or you were bigger than the rest. In the case of Kat Zingano, she was huge.
Can I just add as well, like when women's MMA first came to the UFC, those fights were fucking epic. They were great fights.
Yeah, because there was some really, really bad ones and some okay ones who kind of had one good thing and could utilize that and make a mockery. Kind of like the Gracies back in the old days. They were good at one thing, no one else was good at it. They could just run through. And that's what. But I think Kat Zingano's been off a long, long time. She hasn't won in forever. I mean, sure, people say, oh yeah, but she beat the hell out of Nunes, and now Nunes is arguably the best bantamweight of all time. Nunes got a load better since then, and Juliana Pena absolutely robbed the floor with Zingano. Now ask me, if Pena went up against Nunes, what would happen there? We'd be at Pena's funeral right now. Like, there's change in fightings. Time has moved on. Ketlan Vieira is one of the top prospects at bantamweight in a division that really needs prospects right now. Kat Zingano is, I don't know, if she's added something new to her game, then fair play, she shows up. But that last fight, she showed nothing. She's taken a long time off. I don't think she's going to be showing up here with anything new. Ketlan Vieira is getting better every fight. She's younger, she's hungrier, and I just think she'll be able, probably, again, you don't get this with a lot of women's fights, as I'm a big lover of the over in women's fights, but I think Vieira should finish Zingano somewhere along the way with submission.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm the same. I've gone the same way. I've got 2.5 units on Vieira at minus 120, and then do you know what? I wasn't actually going to bet this at first because I didn't think I'd be able to get a good read on it. Because what happened is Vieira's been fighting a lot lately, so her latest fights are still imprinted in my memory. So although I did watch
Yeah.
what I did end up taping.
Sarah McMahon.
Yeah. So I did end up taping Vieira anyway. But what I did first is I watched Zingano, and because I don't really remember it that well because it's been that long. Like you mentioned, it's been a long time since she's been dominant. So the fight that I watched was, I saw on the record Amanda Nunes. I thought, oh shit, I didn't realize this fight happened, and she got a 9-0. So I watched the Amanda Nunes fight, and at first Amanda Nunes is on top and she's doing well, but then she makes a fucking stupid mistake going for, I think it was a leg lock or of some sort of leg submission that ended up putting her on her back. It was stupid anyway, and Zingano got on top and really knocked the gas out of Nunes, who didn't have a great gas tank back then that we knew, and then finished her in the second round. So at this point I'm thinking, shit, Zingano looks really good. How is she gonna fare against Vieira? So that's where I started from, and then the more I watch tape, and for me, I tend to always have quite I tend to be quite good at dissecting grapplers and wrestlers and, the clinch game. I mean, I can read strikers as well, but the ground game's really where I do my better work. And when I just started to pick up things. So, for example, Ketlan Vieira against Sarah McMahon, she was defending the clinch. Sarah McMahon was trying to clinch up with her and trip her and pull her to the ground rather than the Olympic level wrestling takedowns that Sarah McMahon usually attempts. So like your double legs and your single legs, and Vieira was actually defending them really, really well, and to the point where McMahon was fully trying to rag her to the mat, and she just wouldn't go down. And eventually, McMahon got hold of the single leg and did put her on her back. That's where the Olympic level wrestling comes into it. That's where she switched from the MMA wrestling to the Olympic level, and she got to the floor. And I thought, well, when I'm watching Zingano take down, because I watched the Pena fight as well, so I saw the Nunes fight, the Pena fight, and I'm thinking Zingano either trips or throws. It looks like she's got decent judo as well, so she trips or throws, and I thought, well, that's not going to wash that easily against Ketlan Vieira, because I think we're actually blessed that we got to see Vieira against McMahon before this fight, by the way. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bet this fight.
I think that's a much harder fight than Kat Zingano is.
Potentially, yeah. So I was watching the takedowns of Zingano with the trips and the throws, and I thought, well, that's not going to wash on Vieira because McMahon showed us that. And then when you watch Zingano get taken down, Zingano gets taken down by trip takedowns. Then you watch how Ketlan Vieira took Sarah McMahon down before she finished her. It was a really fucking clever trip. Like not even something simple where you just trip and fall on top. She sort of got an angle on the position on the fence and sort of twisted her body with the trip and put her down that way. Eventually tapped her out. And then I'm thinking, well, okay, this is now becoming a stylistic matchup that favours Vieira. So this is before all the other things that's going on with Vieira right now that I'll talk about in a minute. Then I look at how Zingano is off her back, and Zingano's quite static on her back. She did get one sweep against Pena, more of a mistake on Pena in my opinion. But then in the second round, of that Pena fight, she was just on her back, not really doing too much. When she was against Amanda Nunes, she was on her back, not doing too much. It was only because Amanda Nunes made the mistake of giving up position where Zingano capitalised on. Again, fair play for that, but that was an opponent making a mistake that was allowing her to be better off her back. So I'm thinking to myself, well, Vieira's quite heavy on top, and she's a legit grappler as well. So she will spend, if she gets Zingano down, she will spend a lot of time on top. If she gets her down once in a round, I think she can end that round being on top if she doesn't submit her. So, like I say, now it's a stylistic matchup that's really favouring Vieira. The line was -120. I'm thinking, okay, well, this is great. Then you start looking into Vieira in the regional fights, and you can really see a progression because Vieira doesn't actually look great regionally. Like if you watch a really old fight, she looks pretty piss poor. But you can see every single fight that goes on, every fight that she's in, she's getting that bit better. And then you look at her age. I think she's 26. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, but I'm sure she's around that age. So she's at that age right now where she will be drastically improving every single fight. And not only do I think this is a stylistic matchup that favours Vieira, I just think that we see a much better Vieira in this fight than what we saw in the last fight against McMahon, which you rightly said, Stuart, potentially a harder fight than what Zingano might be. We'll find out, but I do tend to agree with that. So for me, it's like, yeah, I do see a path to victory for Zingano. I get that if she turns up and she can get Vieira down, but then Vieira off her back, she was active against McMahon. She didn't get McMahon off her, but she was trying. But McMahon's
Well, I mean, no, when McMahon's in full mount, there ain't nothing that's getting her off you. I mean, you saw that with Renault. Like, Renault's a strong woman, And when McMahon's got all of the weight on, you ain't getting her off.
Yeah,
That's
she's Olympic level wrestler.
You got to wait. You
Yeah.
got to get to the bell. There's no chance.
But I think that if Zingano does get Vieira down, which again I'm skeptical of, because of the way Zingano's style of takedowns is, Vieira is good at defending those types of takedowns. So I'm skeptical she can get it down. But if she does, I think Vieira could definitely work a sweep or work her way back to her feet. Once they're back to the feet, then the clinch is there, and then Vieira could trip Zingano. But we haven't even begun to speak about the striking. We've done is spoke about the ground game. Zingano's striking is non-existent. She throws wild shots whilst charging forward with a chin up and her hands out, because she's striking moving forward just to close the distance. If Vieira can angle out and circle out of these lunges and doesn't engage in the clinch, he could win a striking battle as well. I don't get the line. I think the line should be worse for Vieira.
Well, it's getting there. So if you want a bit of Vieira, I'd recommend going there. But then again, Zingano's got for some reason, a lot of fans. So maybe they'll come along at some point.
I tend to say that MMA fans forget a lot, but I think in the case of Zingano, I think they're remembering a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, she beat Nunes and Tate and Pennington. Great, but you look at where Nunes and Pennington are now, Zingano wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Tate, obviously, maybe not, but she's done anyway. I mean, you get finished by Ronda Rousey in 14 seconds. I mean, that's, no matter how good Ronda Rousey is, that's not a good look.
Ronda Rousey, the GOAT of women's MMA.
Amanda Nunes. I'm a
joking.
Nunes fanboy, man.
Hey,
I love Rousey as well. I'm a pro wrestling mark, so I'm well on the Rousey bandwagon right now. I know all you guys hate it, but I'm buzzing.
So have you got anything to add to the Vieira situation?
No, I just think times have probably passed Zingano by. It's the age old 4 years in women's MMA is 10 years in men's MMA. You put a Royce Gracie against the worst fighter in the MMA not named CM Punk, and he'll probably lose. And I think that's probably the case with Zingano against any capable top 10 bantamweight right now. And Vieira, I think, is better than that. She's probably the best prospect in the division, and I think she'll probably make it 10-0 from here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there'll be a finish though. I think it'll be a decision. Maybe if Zingano can score a takedown and does keep top control for a couple of minutes in one of the rounds, she might sneak that round. Ultimately, I think it's going to be a unanimous decision. If that situation that I've just described happens, 29-28 Vieira. Other than that, I think it'll be 30-27s across the board.
Okay.
So yeah, moving on to the next one. This is totally you, man. This is one that I've not even bothered taping for reasons that I will explain, and it's not going to be a big breakdown from me for that reason. But we've got Ashley Yoder against Mackenzie Dern. So fire away.
Right, Mackenzie Dern is essentially the UFC's new Paige Van Zandt, except for where Paige Van Zandt isn't very good and good looking. Mackenzie Dern is very good at one thing and also good looking. But there's three things that I think essentially is going to push this for Mackenzie Dern to be winning. And that's A, the fact that outside of the top 15, top 10 of strawweight, if you're really, really, really good in one aspect, like elite level, you can beat anybody with just that one skill. And Mackenzie Dern's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that. She is absolutely world-class at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. From a women's perspective, at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I think she can sub pretty much anyone if that's not a decent fighter. You've got strawweight, women's strawweight is extremely hot right now. So, like, at least at the top anyway. So she'll have some problems when she gets up there. But she's not there yet. She's against Ashley Yoder, which comes to point two, is the fact that Ashley Yoder, terrible at stand-up, okay at on the ground and in grappling. While Mackenzie Dern, elite on the ground, pretty terrible at stand-up, but still better than Ashley Yoder. This is literally the most cupcake of cupcake matches they've given Dern. Like, Yoder wouldn't even be in the UFC if they didn't go, oh, look, we're getting in Dern. Let's give her the easiest fight possible to get her off, get the ball rolling, get the promotional stuff, get a submission, a nice, decent win. And then comes to point C. I'm pretty sure this is a strawweight fight. Mackenzie Dern is not a strawweight. She is a flyweight. She will miss weight. I'm like 70% sure that she's going to miss weight here. And 9-0 missing weight fighters, I'm willing to ride on that bandwagon. I think she'll come in heavy. Or if she doesn't come in heavy, she'll get a lot heavier by the time of fight day, and the takedowns will be even easier for her. And when she gets it there, it's only a matter of time before she finds the back, and most likely an arm, and submits. I mean, they've got some of the more of the props out for this fight now. I was going to recommend taking inside the distance or submission or fight doesn't go the distance. But, God damn, these lines are bad. It's like minus 210 on fight doesn't go the distance. Dern to win inside the distance is about minus 150. It's grim. Like, maybe when the submission comes out, it might be minus 125 on Dern, and which maybe. But, if you want to go contrarian and you think Yoder could probably scramble out of stuff, then fight goes the distance for a strawweight fight at plus 160. Hello. Take it.
Well, I mean, you've just touched upon one of the reasons why I passed on the fight, and that was just due to the lines. I didn't tape the fight, but I would have taped the fight if the lines were a little kinder. I think I had the option of minus 275 at one point for Dern at best.
That's what I've got in a parlay with someone else we'll touch on later.
Yeah, so I mean,
parlay.
So I didn't touch it for that, and the reason why is I went to a record because I thought a record just takes a couple of minutes to read, and I know that only tells like a portion of the story, and I understand that. But it gives you a good initial gauge. So I went to a record and I looked at it, and there were no names there of any sort of caliber. And what is she? Is she 5-0?
Yeah, she's 5-0.
Yeah,
but...
so she's 5-0. So she ain't got enough experience under her belt in regards to pro MMA fights, and she hasn't got much name value to the opponents that she's beaten to warrant me putting a minus 275 bet on a female. Now, I watched some footage of an omoplata that she finished on somebody earlier on, which is, for me, when I used to train MMA, omoplata was my go-to submission. I love everything about the omoplata. I won't delve into it, but I get that submission really well, and the way she finished that omoplata actually even had me a bit speechless. I was like, whoa, fuck, like...
She's elite, man. She is world class.
I get that. But for me, she might be world class, she might be elite, she might be, but just from the statistical research perspective, like I said, she's 5-0, UFC debut, no real, not too much MMA, pro MMA experience, not too much name value on the opponents, and then a book's wanting, well, now they're wanting about minus 300,
yeah, okay,
minus
now it's getting silly, yeah.
So for me, that's the reason I passed. From the short footage that I've seen and what I'm hearing from a lot of people, I'm sure she is going to win. But even if she does win, I just didn't see too much value in that line. I'd rather spread that out.
I have to disagree with you on one point, and I say while her name value isn't elite, Kaylin Medeiros, Montana De La Rosa, they're not huge names, but they're better than the names that Ashley Yoder has beaten. Arguably, even like Yoder's running is against Hill and Kish. I mean, Kish is terrible. Hill is good at stand up.
My girl Hill.
I love her. I love Angela Hill. She's awesome. I wasn't betting that line last week just because I was
Oh man, that was an
Twitter mush. That's
easy
mush.
motherfucking cash.
I
Easy
know,
cash.
but the thing is, with women's MMA, when it comes to striking, they make all those Serena Williams strike noises. That covers up the hit noises. And I'm thinking if
No, listen, right.
Marina Moroz is throwing 300 strikes and she's making a noise after them, how are the judges knowing they're hitting if she's making a after every single strike?
Yeah, I
I ain't
get
having
that,
no
but I
robbery.
mean, it's nice when you watch tape on a fighter, and
Yeah.
you better for a specific reason or reasons, and then you watch the fight, and it all comes together like a nice jigsaw puzzle, and
Yeah.
that's what Angela Hill was last week anyway. But you know,
I'm
that's
happy everyone. I'm happy everyone cashed, and I'm a big fan of Hill. If that Liebberger fight didn't happen before, I probably would have been in it. But that was really hard to watch as a Hill fan. So, but
But
anyway,
anyway, yeah, different
we're
card.
sidetracking
But
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
for this card, that's ultimately the reason why I didn't bet it. So I hope you cash, and I don't think a
Now
lot of
it's
people will
now
be
it's
on
getting
Yoder.
silly. So yeah, I
So I
will.
hope everyone cashes Dern as well. So moving on to the next breakdown, we've got Mike Pyle versus Zach Ottow, and if you don't know, yesterday Mike Pyle on Ariel Helweni's The MMA Hour announced that this is a retirement fight, which is brilliant for anyone that's bet Zach Ottow, in my opinion, which is me and which is you, Stuart. So I've got 3.5 units on Zach Ottow at -212. It was a William Hill bet boost. Again, say every podcast, worth checking out William Hill and Ladbrokes just for those little boosts as well. I think Ottow's now rising above like the -250 mark, and rightly so. History suggests that anybody that announces retirement before the retirement fight or just before the retirement fight probably doesn't do that great. But even I bet this before that though, so that's something just worth noting. So I bet it before Mike Pyle was retiring, and the reason why is Mike Pyle's 42, is got one win in his last five, I think it is, which spans over like 4 or 5 years. Three of those losses out of the four, he's been brutally knocked out. He's got he's been in a lot of wars over the years. Like I say, he's 42. He's got a huge record. He's been in there with pretty much everybody over a long lengthy career. And although Zach Ottow doesn't pose too much of a knockout threat, I think it's fucking possible that he can knock him out with the state of what I think Pyle's chin is going to be like. And you know, it could surprise us. You know, Arlovski seemed to have got a chin in his last fight against Junior Albini. Ben Saunders last week sort of pulled a chin out of, I don't know, Santa must have dropped him a chin off for Christmas or something. I fucking don't know, but you know, that dude suddenly had a chin, and Joe Bang couldn't put him out too easily. So you know, that's entirely possible, but at 42 years old, I highly doubt it. Now, for me, I just think Zach Ottow is better everywhere. I think his cardio will be better, his striking's better, his movement's better, his speed's better. I think he's got, even though he doesn't, like I say, he doesn't pose too much of a knockout threat, I still think he's probably got more power. He's got more tools in his arsenal, so he mixes in combinations well with low kicks as well. Really took out Josh Burtman's legs in that fight. Just kept on smashing the leg, and I think that's something that could play an effect in this fight as well, with the long legs of Mike Pyle. Those will just be there, sat there waiting to be leg kicked by Ottow. Primarily before Ottow came into the UFC, he was, you know, he showed a lot of his wrestling game. We haven't seen that too much in the UFC. I do think it'll be slightly risky if he goes to the ground with Pyle and he's on top, because Pyle has got those long legs, but really Ottow doesn't make too many errors on the mat. He does seem to snatch a back up quite quickly as well. We saw that in his in a couple of his fights. If you watch tape, straight gets takedowns, quickly whips around to the back. Pyle has been submitted a few times as well as being knocked out. So I think when you're just putting it all together, I just think that where I'm comfortable, this is one of them fights that I'm comfortable that my fight is not only younger, stronger, more athletic, more durable, but I just think that wherever the fight goes in this scenario, like sometimes, like with the Frankie Edgar and Ortega fight, I'm saying that if that goes to the ground, I'm probably going to be a little bit worried. Whereas I think Edgar's best path to victory is keeping it on the feet, and I think that will happen. But with this fight, it's sort of almost like I'm not too fussed where the fight goes, as long as it's not Zach Ottow on the bottom getting laid on. I think that's like the only worst possible scenario. But how often do we see that? I just think that wherever the fight goes in this fight, Ottow will be the better fighter. So I just think it's a really good bet. And then, like I say, you add the retirement talk to this as well. Now Pyle's not fighting for making his way up the rankings. Not that he was ever going to get into the top 15 again or anything like that. But he's just having his last fight, his see-off fight. I think that if he can get in his head, he'll probably thinking, if I can get through this without getting finished, I can go out with my head held high. And although I do think Ottow could knock him out, I don't think he's going to submit him. I think Pyle's a little bit too savvy to get submitted by Ottow, even though Ottow's got like 10 submissions on his record, I think, something like that. I do think Ottow will win a decision here. I think the fight will mostly stay standing. I think Ottow will eat away at the low kicks. He'll be in and out of range, just jabbing and moving and putting a few combinations together. The only concern I have from Ottow's perspective, I mean, he's not a great fighter. But he is a good low to mid range fighter. And he's a solid low to mid range fighter, because he doesn't, he does stuff. He does most things quite well, just not at the higher level well, if you get what I mean. So the only thing that really does worry me is he fights quite close, and what I mean by that is, even when he's so much better than his opponent, he'll sort of lower his level a little bit to make the fight a lot closer than it should be. But ultimately, I still think a close fight he wins anyway. So I know you've got a bet on him, so tell us your story.
Yeah, I've got two chalky parlays for this. One of which features Dern, the other one features Ottow at minus 225, bit lower now since Pyle announced he's retiring after the fight. As you said, never a good idea. This fight just feels exactly like the Morono versus Berkman fight, or the Nico Price versus
George Sullivan.
George Sullivan, yeah. Like, one fighter is donezo, like, just finished. Like, it just shouldn't be here anymore. And the other fighter isn't great, but still competent, and still got a job to do in the UFC, essentially. Except for in this situation, I think Mike Pyle probably isn't as done as someone like George Sullivan or Josh Berkman, but that's more saying something about George Sullivan and Josh Berkman. And I think Zach Ottow isn't as good as Nico Price or Alex Morono. But saying that, I still think Zach Ottow's really got to fuck up here to lose this fight. Like, we have only seen him take like one real sort of bomb from Jing Liang, I can never say his name.
Leading,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy who cost everyone money a couple of weeks ago. So maybe Pyle could pull something out of his butt. But it's Ottow's fight to lose this, and I don't see how he loses it, apart from something wild. He could lose one round maybe, but that's about it. I can't see how Ottow loses this fight.
I think if he loses, he gets submitted.
I don't see. I can't see Ottow getting submitted.
But he's not going to win it. Ottow's not going to lose a decision again, or he shouldn't do, unless Pyle's laid on top of him.
The only thing is, if Pyle lays on top of him for the first round, we have seen Ottow slightly fade through the third round. But then again, Pyle's a million years old. Like, who knows what he's going to look like by round 3? Because he doesn't make it there anymore, because he's too busy getting knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see how Ottow loses this. It's his fight to lose. It's getting down there. It's like minus 275 now, but I still think that's, it's a parlay piece. If you're betting huge amounts of money, then that's something you can throw it on. I mean, he's really got to mess this one up. That's
Yeah,
all I got to say.
I agree. I think the value's up to about -250 with this, if I'm
Well,
honest.
it's a lot. It's bigger than -250 in places at the moment. It's
Unless
-275 in America
unless
across
you are
the
throwing it
majority of
into a
books.
parlay. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
personally not a fan of parlays, and I haven't played one for a
except
long,
for
long
them
time.
nuggets. You like them nuggets.
Yeah, Newsome's Nuggets, they're solid. They're guaranteed winners. But apart from that, parlays aren't my thing. Um, so yeah, I think Ottow gets it done by a comfortable decision. If he doesn't, fine. If he don't land anything non-pillow on Pyle's chin. So
Hmm.
moving on to our last full breakdown. So again, this is totally you. I'll give my reasons. I did tape this fight, by the way, so this is not Yoder versus Dern, where I just didn't bother taping it all. I did tape the fight, ultimately passed. I'll explain my reasons why afterwards, but I'll let you shoot. We've got Jordan Johnson versus Adam Milstead.
Yeah, Jordan Johnson is the the mainstay in both of my parlays, featuring Ottow, one featuring Dern. -250. It's gone down a bit now to sort of an unplayable region. I feel where it's more now -300 or deeper. And for me, this is Adam Milstead is coming down from heavyweight to light heavyweight to take on Jordan Johnson. Adam Milstead is a guy who's got power in his hands, but apart from that, has got little to else in his game. His technique is all over the shop. He beat De La Rocha in his debut, but De La Rocha got finished quickly by Daniel Lemchek. And if there's one thing that Daniel O does, it's not or doesn't do, it's knock people out. He makes fights gritty and horrible, but he doesn't knock people out, and he put that guy away. Again, I'm doing MMA maths now, but still. And then Adam Milstead went on to fight Curtis Blades, who is obviously super high in a lot of people's books, and just got manhandled. Like, he got leg TKO'd from slams. That's like, and it was serious leg injury as well. Not like he couldn't, like, this put him out for a while. ACL tear, that's going to mess you up. And I think it could. Jordan Johnson starts slamming him about, then that could reappear again. Jordan Johnson, on the other hand, came in against Frankenstein, the really rubbish Brazilian guy who picked 2 wins out of his ass to begin with and then stayed around for 4 more losses or something. Like,
Yeah,
dominated that with grappling. I think Jordan Johnson is a legit prospect and has, hot take here, better wrestling than Curtis Blades, despite being a light heavyweight. And then went on to fight Marcel Fortuna. I think that's a fight where a lot of people are being put off betting Jordan Johnson here because the fight stays on its feet for the majority. And I believe that's because Fortuna does have a pretty legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. And his stand-up isn't great despite putting out Anthony Hamilton. Everyone puts out Anthony Hamilton. Fact.
apart
Like,
from Fiocek.
let's not go there. The, let's not go there. That was a bad day. Like, ugh, Jesus, how do you not put him out? Anyway, but Jordan Johnson, like, I think that was more of him trying to show off his stand-up game, secure a takedown where he needed it, and try and, like, the improvements in Jordan Johnson's game, despite only being 5 fights deep, is massive. And Adam Milstead doesn't have the takedown defense or the ground game to worry Jordan Johnson in the slightest, I don't feel. So Jordan Johnson isn't going to be playing the same game he played against Marcel Fortuna. He's going to go in there. He's going to take down again. Adam Milstead showed some reasonably good get-up game against Curtis Blades, but that's not going to matter when Jordan Johnson's going to get you down. Then Milstead's going to pop back up, and Jordan Johnson's going to get him down again and again until Milstead gets tired midway through round 2, probably, like he did against Curtis Blades, and then just again and again until he just doesn't want to get up anymore. And at that point, you've got to think is, like, right now it's Jordan Johnson's -300. That's getting a bit steep for a guy who's 5 fights deep, despite the fact that I think he's probably the top prospect at 205. You got to think, is he going to finish late or is he going to win a decision? I think it'll be 30-27s across the board for Jordan Johnson. worry slightly for Milstead's power, but his technique is so sloppy. He's going to throw something bad. Jordan Johnson's going to make him pay for it by slamming that ass on the ground. Like, again, this is a power shot from Milstead, or Jordan Johnson's just going to take him down again and again and again and again. And that's all she wrote. You?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit to say about this. I think we're watching two different fighters here, because Jordan Johnson, to me, doesn't look like that relentless wrestler where you say he's going to get taken down time and time and time again. I don't see that. Like, you see that with Curtis Blades. That's a fighter that will take you down time and time and time again.
We're not getting into Curtis Blades because that Daniel Omilemchek sticks
No,
out like a
I don't
sore
want to
thumb
get into.
for
I don't
me.
want to get into Curtis Blades, but the point I'm trying to make is Johnson's got
Yeah.
takedowns and he's got decent takedowns. He's got a decent wrestling game, but I just don't think he's that type of fighter that will relentlessly take you down. So the type of fighter that Curtis Blades is, or the type of fighter that Colby Covington is, that type of fighter that will want to constantly take you down time and time again. I think that he can get Milstead down, but one worry I had, and I disagree with you, I think Curtis Blades is a better wrestler than Jordan Johnson. But the one worry I had is Milstead was standing back up against, and I know you touched upon this, he was standing back up against Curtis Blades, and at that point Curtis Blades probably didn't have the best top control in holding fighters down. But the fact that he was standing back up from a huge motherfucking heavyweight with good wrestling constantly, even with a bad knee that was fucked in the fight, he was still standing back up. I just think that if Jordan Johnson gets him down and he doesn't secure that back on the mat with decent top control right away and in the middle of the octagon, I think Milstead will stand back up against Jordan Johnson. Now, I think where Johnson's going to win this fight is by not getting hit by a ridiculous power shot.
Yeah.
And Milstead hasn't got the best striking technique either, so it's not as if he's gonna smash him with a crisp combo. He's gonna be looking for a big power shot that Johnson's probably gonna be able to see. So I think he stays away. He stays
And
out
we
of
have
that.
seen Jordan Johnson take some bombs in his fight, so it's not like I'm sure we haven't seen him fight anyone with the power of Milstead, but we've seen him take some big shots from
Sure.
guys who have put guys away with shots. So it's not like
And I think
we
with
don't know if
Milstead
he
as
can take
well,
a shot at all.
because he doesn't have the crisp striking, he will wing bombs, and winging bombs will tire him out. You saw him
Yeah.
in the De La Rocha fight. He just got tired. And to be fair, the knockout in that fight was quite fortunate. But there's just a few things that stopped me from betting this. First of all, when I watched tape, it was before the lines came out. I valued Johnson at about -187, I think it was, which is 8 to 15 in the UK. That's where I saw.
God damn, I'd be all over that every day of the
Absolutely, I
week.
know I was being a bit kind to
God
myself,
damn.
but that's honestly where I saw the line. Sometimes I am really off of where I see value, but by the same respect, I sort of have to respect my own principles in regards to not eating something too large, if you get what I mean. So when the lines came out, it was like minus. I think it might have been -240, something like that. So instantly I
Yeah.
was put off by it. But so the first reason I haven't bet it is because of the line. But the second reason is, and again you mentioned it, with the Fortuna fight, it was just fucking awful. Johnson's striking isn't um,
No.
what I thought it was, and like I said, with the get up game of Milstead, and ultimately my pick's Johnson. I am picking Johnson to win. I think he will win this fight, but there's just a few. There's a couple of red. Bottom line is there's a couple of red flags, and the line was too high, and that's the reason I haven't played it. If we're talking -187, I could have swallowed those couple of red flags and really took the bet because of value from a value perspective. But at -240, if I'm seeing a couple of red flags in a fight, I ain't fucking playing that. Like, why would you?
I'm a bit of a Jordan Johnson fanboy, I suppose. I've been a huge lover of what he's done so far, so maybe that's slightly playing into it. Plus 100 to go the distance doesn't look too bad if you think Johnson's probably going to win.
But I mean,
Now that I see that, I kind of hate myself.
what you've got to respect is people see things differently as well. So like what I
Yeah.
might see in Jordan Johnson, someone might disagree with or see a counteract from what I've said, and
I'm seeing that so much at the moment.
yeah, everybody sees things differently, which is great, and that's always going to happen because MMA is such a diverse sport. Um, but then that brings into the question of that's why some people make a pass, that's why some people make a play, and for me this is just a pass. That's all. But I do think Johnson wins. I think he is going to be a popular play this week. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people on Milstead apart from opportunists or opportunists, because that's the only fucking reason you play Adam Milstead in this
And you
position.
play him inside the distance, in my opinion, because I don't see him winning
I agree.
definitive rounds here.
So I mean, for me, it's a pass, but I'm sure everyone's going to cash. And that's it for the full breakdown. So we'll jump straight into the quick fire round. So not too much back and forth, just a little like who we think is going to win and why we've passed. And the first name that pops up, we've got Cris Cyborg against Yana Kunitskaya. I think I pronounced that surname right. If I haven't, then my bad. But Cris Cyborg's going to win this by absolute destruction. Complete mismatch, short notice. Kunitskaya shouldn't even be in there with her. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a first round knockout from Cyborg. I don't think it's going any longer than 2 rounds. The reason I passed is because Cyborg's like minus 1500 or something daft like that. I ain't ever going to play that. Or in the distance, I haven't even seen that. I would imagine that's about minus 800 as well, if I'm guessing. So,
It's not actually that much.
What is it?
1 sec, I've got it in decimals right now.
If it's anything above minus 400, you can't.
It's minus 600.
Yeah, fuck that. So it's an unplayable bet. You ain't gonna take Kunitskaya. Why would you? She's gonna lose. So yeah, Cyborg by fuck it, first round knockout. What about you?
Cyborgs should win this every day. Betting this is just, if you think it's going to end via round 1 KO, no reason to bet this fight at all. You're getting nothing from it. If you think it's going to be later than round 1 or she's going to win by submission, you're going to get a decent price on something. So go ahead. But do you think it's going to make it to round 2? Probably not. Kunitskaya got ragdolled by Tonya Evinger in their rematch.
Yeah.
Tonya Evinger. Yeah. MMA maths, but Cyborg is goddamn huge. Like, I might have a flutter on round 2 Cyborg just because I think it might be plus 400, plus 500 because round 1 will be such chalk. But other than that, no, it's Cyborg finish early.
Cool. Next one, we've got Sean O'Malley against Andre Soukhamthath. This is another fight that I taped. Just purely because, and sometimes I do tape fights when I see a lot of people like really hyped on one fighter. It happened last week with Hill. I wasn't even going to bother betting it. I saw a load of people betting it. I thought, okay, I don't want to miss out. Let me see what everyone else is seeing. And I saw something and great, I bet it. This happened a little bit differently. So, but in the same principle, I wasn't going to bet O'Malley and Soukhamthath, but I saw a lot of people on Soukhamthath quite highly. So I thought, okay, fuck it, I'll run the tape and I'll see what's what. But unlike the Hill fight, I see this as a very, very close pick and fight. I think the line opened off. Soukhamthath opened at like plus 195, I think it was, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Credit to anyone that's bet that because they've got pure value. And my pick's actually Andre Soukhamthath to win purely from a fundamental point of view. O'Malley seems to be young, quite green, flashy. Gas is a little gassed after the first round against Terrion Ware, but then the second round was horrible for him. The third round he found a second wind, looked good again, but I just think Soukhamthath's got the better fundamental striking here. I don't think this is going to hit the mat. So my pick is Soukhamthath to win by decision, but absolutely a no bet from me because O'Malley could land something flashy and knock Soukhamthath out. That's definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened at all. It's going to be a quick pace fight. There's going to be a lot of strikes thrown. There's going to be a lot of strikes landing. I ain't touching anything like that. So Andre Soukhamthath by decision is my quick fire pick. What about you?
I've since I saw Sean O'Malley in the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender series, like I've been sitting there going, this guy's going to be overhyped. I can't wait to fade this dude. Terrion Ware, I thought could have been the guy to beat him but O'Malley looked good. I'll give him the credit. Like he did what he needed to do. And Soukhamthath has had kind of a rough run of it. He's looked good, but he had that dodgy decision against Perez. Beat Sanders, which is great. And here, I'm not sure. Soukhamthath clock 180 all day. Yes, please. Thank you, whatever that line was. Now he's the favorite, not so confident. I think, to me, this screams out kind of possible judging. It's going to be close, and I think Sean O'Malley is sort of a UFC favorite. Maybe he'll get a bit of lean, especially in Vegas. So I think Sean O'Malley plus 235 wins by decision, 29-28 split. Who knows? I think Sean O'Malley by decision. No real reason why, but I wouldn't be surprised if Soukhamthath wins this. But I think it goes to decision, and a plus 110 to go to decision. That's wow. Actually, wow. That's really good.
Yeah,
Plus 110 to go to decision.
I do
think
there's
that
going to be
even those
fireworks,
guys
so.
will strike a lot.
Yeah.
But these guys have chins. Both of them. Like, O'Malley's a bit of a quitter in regards to submissions, which we've seen from his amateur fights, but Soukhamthath ain't a submission specialist. He's a striker. I think this goes the 3 rounds and it'll be bangers. But plus 110 to go to decision is quite nice.
If you're betting plus 110 to go to the decision, you better get your links ready because you will be sweating, son. I can tell you that.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh, god damn, yes. But I think that's a nice.
Cool.
Personally.
Next one, we've got Stefan Struve, Andrei Arlovski. The line on this is incredible because I think Struve opened at minus 375.
Minus 370. What was that?
Yeah.
That was the worst line ever.
It is the worst line ever. I do think he's going to win. I'm not sure Arlovski will be able to find that chin that easily anyway. I think he'll really have to get inside and really work hard to land something on Struve's chin, with Struve being like 13 foot 10 or whatever he is. So, and Arlovski doesn't have the best chin. I know he found a chin in his last fight against Junior Albini that I touched upon earlier on. But there's only so much that's going to hold up, and I just think Struve, even though he doesn't possess any sort of power, I do think he could knock Arlovski out, even if it's a kick or like a lazy, slow but powerful kick, could probably knock Arlovski out. I don't think it's going to the decision, and I do think Struve is going to TKO him at some point in the fight. So, absolutely no bet because of the line. I also don't see too much value in the dog. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I just don't see Arlovski winning this one. So yeah, Struve by TKO.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this fight. It's going to be so bad.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be awful.
I mean, yeah, that opening line was ridiculous, and Arlovski should have been taken at anything above plus 200. Struve is one of the most inconsistent fighters in any division. He can go out there and be the only guy who ever looks legitimately great against Daniel Omulenchik, who, as I touched upon, makes every fight horrible to watch. And then he can go out there and look absolutely terrible and get finished. He's mental. At the end of the day, Arlovski's chin's still not there, but we don't know what Struve's going to show up. He's got problems with nerves, heart condition, I believe, or something else. I might be making that up. But anyway, I think I'll give a shout to my brother who picked Arlovski by decision last time at plus 1,000. I think Arlovski wins a decision. Don't ask me why. Fatty's going to fatty. It'll go the distance, and Arlovski will lose the first round, look a bit shaky, and probably take the 2 and 3. But no bet. This is just a mad fight to watch and not to touch with money.
Yeah, definitely. So the next one we've got the short notice fight, Beniel Dariush, who should have been fighting Bobby Green. We've got an Alexander Hernandez that stepped in a couple of days ago. Don't really know too much about the guy. I think he's 8-1 if I remember rightly when I looked at his record, but not really beating anyone of any name value. So I genuinely don't have really much to go on at all here. My pick's going to be Beniel Dariush purely just because he's not a jobber. He is a good, legit fighter, and a legit top 15er as well in the lightweight division. He can strike, he can grapple, he can clinch. He's quite well rounded. So I'd be surprised if any newcomer debutant on this short notice is actually that good enough that the UFC haven't picked him up before now to come in and step in against someone like Dariush and beat him. So I think Dariush wins, and it wouldn't surprise me. Again, I don't know too much about the other kid, but from Dariush, knowing what Dariush is about, he's got decent power in his striking. Not thunderous, but it's okay. It's enough to knock someone out. He sparked James Vick out in one punch. Sorry, it wasn't one punch. It was accumulation. He dropped him before that, but he's still knocked James Vick out, who's a good striker, and he's got a good jiu-jitsu as well. He's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu, so it wouldn't surprise me if Beniel Dariush got him out inside the distance. I'm not sure how, so I'm not going to give you a knockout or a submission, but I think Dariush takes him out in the fight. I don't think it goes to a decision, and Dariush to win inside the distance. What about you?
I could make some probably terrible reference to Alexander Hernandez and some kind of soccer team, but I won't. But Beniel Dariush is... I'm a huge Beniel Dariush fan. Like, he's shown a bit of issue with his gas tank lately, and I will be honest, I don't even know who Alexander Hernandez is. I assume he's someone locally who can just step in to take the fight.
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard a lot of good things from what I've seen on Twitter, that he's not no bomb, no scrub, like he's a decent... But Beniel Dariush is really good, really well-rounded, and I think he should take this, but I don't see anything that jumps off the page to be betting at this fight.
No. Well, the thing is, if you don't know anything about the opponent, you can't make a judgment.
I know, but if you think Dariush is gonna take this guy out early because he's infinitely better, the lines don't look great to bet that. If you think he's gonna win by decision, the line also there isn't great. Literally, you only want to do this if you think Hernandez can pull something out of his ass early at plus 600, or beat a gas Dariush later if he's a tough fighter. But I personally don't know.
If this was Dariush that had pulled out and Bobby Green was
oh
fighting
god,
this guy,
yeah, give me whoever's fighting Bobby Green.
Now it would have been worth taping, but the thing is, if the UFC were going to match a legit top 15 guy with Alexander Hernandez at short notice, why have they not picked up Alexander? And if he was that good, if he was so good enough to fight Dariush or even be in the UFC, why did they not pick him up before this? So to me, that just raised a lot of questions. And like you said, no matter which way you look at this line or try and pick a bet out, you're going to have to be paying.
You're going to be forcing yourself to find something.
Yeah, so don't. But I mean, yeah, what's your fan decision in the distance decision?
Yeah, I'll probably go Dariush maybe early, because he tends to gas later in the fight and it'll be harder to... So if it goes out round one, then yeah, I think Dariush will win a decision. So if he's dominating early and doesn't get him out, then take that live goes the distance prop, because it'll probably be nice and tasty knowing Bet365 and their lines.
Cool. So next one, actually quite an interesting fight, and I'm surprised it's quite low down on the card. So we've got John Dodson against Pedro Munhoz, and I think I'm going to be going against the Grania. I'm going to be picking Pedro Munhoz, and I think he'll win a decision. The reason why I'm picking Pedro Munhoz is I'm not buying this whole Greg Jackson, the Jackson Wink camp losing streak thing. I know it's huge, it's ridiculous, and I got stung with it last time against with Tabora against Derek Lewis, but I'm not buying too much into that. But for me, I just think Dodson's regressing a little bit. His speed's not what it once was. I think Munhoz is actually going to be the faster guy. Again, I could be totally wrong, but I've watched Dodson for years. Like I watched the Tough he was in, so I've seen him from when we first saw him on TV all the way up to where he is right now. And I'm actually a fan of the guy. I do like his fighting style, and I like him as a fighter. But what I'm seeing now of John Dodson isn't the same John Dodson that I've been watching over the last like 4 or 5 years or however long it's been. He just looks a bit slower, and because that was his main thing. The speed was what got him through fights, just being able to dart quickly inside, in and out of distance, in and out of the pocket, quickly in and then circling away. His speed and his movement was really what troubled opponents. But now that's, in my opinion, that's starting to go a little bit from him, probably with age and the amount of years that he's been in the game. I just think that now his opponents are getting a John Dodson that is beatable. And that's ultimately what I think he is. I think he's beatable now. Whereas if this fight was 3 years ago, with Munhoz as he is now, but Dodson 3 years ago, Dodson schools him all day long. But I think Dodson's better technically. I just think the speed's gonna be there for Munhoz, and I think that's what's gonna win him the fight. It's gonna be close as shit. I don't agree with where the lines are. I think Dodson's at like -170 now. I think it should be a pick 'em, and at that, again, I still won't bet it just because I think it is going to be a close fight. But I think Pedro Munhoz will take a 29-28, maybe a split decision. What about you?
Oh, I mean, I'm in the same boat you. I don't think this is the Dodson that we know, that we used to know anyway, and we used to love watching fight. He just doesn't seem as quick or as lethal or just as anything. But at the same time, while nowhere near kind of Ortega level, Pedro Munhoz feels like the guy who doesn't win rounds. He finishes fights. When he wins, he finishes fights. And if there's one thing that John Dodson has not lost, it's his tough chin and the fact that he doesn't get himself in sticky situations that is going to get his ass finished. And that's the only way I personally see Pedro Munhoz, oh, sorry, can't say it properly, winning. I mean, look at Scoggins. Scoggins lit him up, got finished. Beat Damien Stasiak.
That
Damien
guy Scoggins.
Stasiak's just terrible. I mean, Rob Font was lighting Munhoz up and just then got guillotined. Like, that was really weird. That was a weird fight. Russell Doan as well, but we know Russell Doan's just not at this level. And then he got beaten by Jimmy Rivera, and Jimmy Rivera is legit. I don't know. The way the line is right now, I would, if I had to bet, I'd bet Pedro, but I still got to think that Dodson will take this by decision. But if Munhoz wins this by some, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Again, the pick is Dodson, but the bet, if you had to, would be Pedro.
Cool. So next we've got CB Dollaway and Hector Lombard. This is a fight that I taped as well. I taped in the hope of betting Hector Lombard. I know a lot of people are sort of listing him as an auto fade, and I get it, but CB Dollaway is pretty shocking as well. He's got a pretty good lead left hook, and that's about all he brings to the table right now. I have heard that, and I didn't know this before today, I have heard that he's got like a really bad back injury that he's had for years, and that now
He's at it
stopped.
from the elevator.
Oh yeah, shit, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
he's suing the elevator company.
Yeah, I bet him that fight as well. Like three fighters get pulled from that card. I fucking bet him on that fight, thinking he was gonna win. But yeah, so Dollaway's now got a bad back that probably should halt his wrestling, but then could he get Lombard down anyway? I'm not too sure. I think Lombard's going to knock him out. And interestingly, Lombard, even though post USADA and all that, he still showed it. Well, still showed. He showed for the first time in his last fight that his cardio went just that little bit further than what it has all of his career. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a fight that you can't bet and just sit back and enjoy it because it's going to be Lombard winging punches, and I think he catches CB Dollaway with one of them, knocks him out. I'll go. I'll go first round. I think that we see a different Lombard to what we saw with Smith. I think Lombard didn't strike that hard with Smith because Smith's a good striker. I think Lombard will have the edge in the striking, and I think he'll want to get Dollaway out there nice and early. I think he'll smell blood, try and seize upon an opportunity to score a highlight reel knockout and get himself a good fight, well, a better fight next. So yeah, Lombard by knockout in round one. What about you?
Lombard is like in my mind, the definitive number 2 1-round fighters behind TRT fought. Like, you give him 1 round, he'll win it. He'll never lose that. But the older he's getting, the more USADA are testing, like, he doesn't have that 1-round flurry, same as Belfort. Like, that's how he won fights. He went out there and he stiffed dudes in round 1. He's no longer got that power. He's no longer got that speed. In my opinion, his cardio is still as bad as ever, maybe slightly better, but that's still one level above zero. Both of these guys are terrible. Like, they they are way gone bad. But at least Dollaway's got a win that hasn't been overturned for testosterone or whatever in the past 4 or 5 years. So I'll take Dollaway at the plus, but god damn, these guys are bad. Like,
Cool.
yeah.
So the last one we've got Brian Caraway and Cody Stamen. Now, I'm probably going to end up pissing a lot of people off here, but just take into consideration this is my opinion, and this is the way I see it. I do appreciate everyone sees stuff differently, watching tape. I do get that, but appreciate obviously this is the way I see it as well. And I see a lot of people betting Cody Stamen, and I think it's a blind bet. And the reason I'm saying that is, and this might be a little bit more than a quick fire, but is what it is. My podcast, I can do it.
I have to agree with you. I'm gonna ramble a little bit as well.
So yeah, like I said, my podcast, I can do what I want. So, um, yeah, and I think it's a blind bet. And the reason I'm saying that is, Brian Caraway, in my opinion, his biggest path to victory is by getting his fighters down and spending time on top, top side grappling, maybe looking for submissions, ultimately just running the clock down because he's nothing spectacular and he's nothing exciting. No offense, but he wins a lot of fights. So, it's not a total insult. Now, the problem I have here, and this is a fight that I've taken by the way, so I'm not just coming with these random opinions. I think that unless you see Cody Stamen on his back with somebody on top of him, a grappler on top of him, I don't know how you can be confident betting this fight. Now let me ask you a question, Stuart.
Yeah.
Out of all of Brian Caraway's fights, how many fighters out of all those fights has he taken down?
Must be near enough all of them.
All of them bar one. The one was Eddie Wineland, who does have
What?
decent takedown defense. Didn't take Eddie Wineland down. I think if I remember rightly, tried to take him down 12 times. But what that shows me in that fight is that Brian Caraway got too possessive in trying to take Wineland down to the point where Wineland just saw it coming. Because if you attempt 12 takedowns over a 3-round fight, that's 4 takedowns per fight that you're trying to take down. 4 takedowns per round. And that's going to start becoming very, very predictable. But also in that list, if you look, there's Asen Sao in there who has elite takedown defense, and Brian Caraway still got him down. So if you're betting Cody Stamen and you're turning around to me saying, "Oh yeah, but Stamen's a great wrestler, he won't get taken down," well, think again. He might not get taken down. I might be completely fucking wrong. And if I am, okay, that's fair enough. But this is the reason why I've passed. I think Brian Caraway is going to get him down. And if I haven't seen Cody Stamen on his back, or even defending a takedown, or trying to get back up to his feet, or trying to work a sweep or a submission off the back, whatever the fuck it is, however he deals with being on his back, if I haven't seen that, how can you possibly bet that? Unless somebody has got some tape somewhere that I haven't seen of Cody Stamen looking good off his back, fucking great, bet him. But listen, Cody Stamen's a hype train. He's a guy that does look good. He's a guy that's got athletic takedowns. He doesn't keep his fighters down, by the way. He's got good takedowns, but he's not got great grappling. There's a difference between wrestling and jiu-jitsu here. He's a hype train. So if you're getting minus 145 or minus 150 on a hype train against Brian Caraway,
minus 165 now.
Yeah,
minus 160. It's getting.
But still, if you're around minus 160 and you're for that hype train and you're fighting someone like Brian Caraway who's had a lot of personal problems and not fought for a while, you've got to think to yourself, why is Stamen only 160? The bookies are not stupid. They know they're going to see these things that I'm talking about now. Someone somewhere has to watch tape. The original odds maker who drops the odds has to watch tape to start with to even make these lines. So he must have. Or
Well, it was
she.
a pick. Opening was pick.
Oh, was it really?
Well, yeah.
Obviously they've not
That says
watched
it
tape
all.
then.
Well, it
But
was a pick 'em. That sounds reasonable. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. This, considering Caraway's layoff, pick 'em sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
absolutely, and this is
But
what I
minus
mean. Like,
165.
I don't mean to insult anybody, but in my opinion, it's a blind bet because if I ask you a question and I say Caraway's taken all his opponents down bar one, and then I say to you, now he's fighting Cody Stamann, and have you ever seen Cody Stamann defend a takedown? Or defend many takedowns over a three round fight? You're going to answer me, no, I haven't seen that. If I say to you, have you seen Cody Stamann off his back, and have you seen how he gets back up to his feet, or how he submits from the bottom, or how he sweeps, and you say, no, I haven't seen that, and then you're starting to think, well, how can you put money on a guy that you haven't seen off his back? Now, I fucking hope everybody that I think there's a few people going to be betting Brian Caraway as well, which I also disagree with that side as well, because Brian Caraway has had a lot of personal problems, and he has had a long layoff, and he was never the greatest looking fighter anyway. So I do disagree with that side. But basically, for anybody that's bet this fight, I just hope the best man wins. And for me, this really does it answers a lot of questions about Cody Stamann for me for moving forward. I might be able to bet him next time after this fight. This is a perfect fight for everybody that's wanting to see Cody Stamann's entire game. And like I said to you with Ketlan Vieira and Sarah McMahon, I'm glad we got to see that fight, because now I can bet Ketlan Vieira. If I had not seen Ketlan Vieira and Sarah McMahon, I wouldn't be betting Ketlan Vieira in this spot, and I'd be having exactly the same rant as what I'm having now. So for me, complete pass. Wouldn't touch it with my money. I am going to side with Cody Stamann purely because he is the younger fighter. He's been the more active fighter. I think mentally his head's going to be there. There's so many red flags on Brian Caraway from that point of view. So ultimately, Cody Stamann is going to be my pick by decision. Very reluctantly, I have to give a pick, and that's what it is. But ultimately, an absolute pass from me. What about you?
First of all, while it might not be the most entertaining fight, as Caraway never is, why is this on the early fight pass prelim? This is like a top 15 bantamweight contest. Like, what's up with that? You're behind Zach Ottow versus Mike Pyle and Dollaway versus the Ghost of Lombard. Like, why? Mental. Anyway, secondly, Stamann has been booked to near perfection. Like, my ABC of booking a prospect is 1 or 2 fights to get them into the rhythm. Step 2, put them against another prospect, see who wins. And then step 3, you put them against that gritty, horrible fighter who's going to make them work, and see if they have the tough stuff to be able to push their way to the top. He's beaten Terrien Ware. He beat the other hot prospect and Duquesnoy, and now he's up to Caraway, who is, he's like, Jesus, Elkins and all your other horrible grapplers who are going to make fights horrible, but you need to be able to beat to prove that you've got your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, Stamann has looked phenomenal. Like, he's looked really, really good, but Brian Caraway can make fights really, really ugly and dirty and not fun. And as you said, if Caraway secures a takedown early in a round, how do we know Stamann's going to get back up? How do we know he's going to be able to do this? I think Stamann is probably, I think he's going to be up there, eventually. But this is a huge step up in competition from a French kid who's got hands to a veteran who's, been around for a long time. Sure, he's not active and nobody likes him, but how do you let that go? How do you let Tate go? What is wrong with you, man? Anyway, but plus 225, Caraway wins by decision. I don't hate that. That sounds. I mean, he's not winning inside the distance. Stamann shows he's tough. And Caraway has near to no finishing ability. Caraway plus 225 wins by decision. Looks good. Might not win, but I think as far as value goes, that seems like a pretty solid play to me. I wouldn't be surprised if Stamann wins, but considering the line, based on the line, it's Caraway for me, because I know what I'm getting. I know 100% what I'm getting from Caraway.
Yeah, and that's a good point to make as well. Like the fact, you always like to bet fighters that you know what you're gonna get. So
when this fight gets ugly,
Zach Ottow, for our bet in that Zach Ottow fight, we know exactly what we're gonna get. There's not gonna be any hidden surprises apart from if he turns out and shows shows that he's much greater than what he is, which I highly doubt. But there's not going to be no hidden surprises, and I understand that, and that's a good point that you've made with Caraway. You know exactly what you're going to get. You're not going to get flashy. You're not going to get exciting. You're going to get boring, gritty, ugly fight from Caraway.
Yep.
And then equally with Stamen, you've got fucking no idea what you're going to get from
On the back
Caraway's
foot, you know what you're going to
advantages.
get offensively, but defensively,
But even offensively, this is something else that I touched upon in the middle of my rant. There's there's a difference between wrestling and jiu-jitsu. In wrestling, you've got you've got a takedown and a pin, right? So from the takedown point of view, that's your wrestling. Once you're on top and you're controlling top position and you move, you're moving up the proverbial pyramid of jiu-jitsu, and you're transitioning from position to position and ultimately holding your guy on the ground. That's jiu-jitsu. That's grappling. It's jiu-jitsu. Cody Stamen gets takedowns. He takes them down, but then apart from flashes in the Dukumar fight where he did keep him down, a lot of the time the fighters get back up. When you see that Stamen's got like 10 successful takedowns in a fight, why do you think he's got 10 successful takedowns in a fight? That's because his opponent keeps getting back up. So, do you get what I mean? Like, Caraway
yeah,
is
I'm
going to
with
be
you.
able to get back up. So, like
I
I say,
think
Stamen's my pick,
I would
but
not. I'm cheering Stamen. I want Stamen to win, but I
I do
can't
because
be
I want to make
confident
money
at
off
that
him in the
line.
future. I'm not going to make money off
Yeah,
Caraway in the future. I'm going to be making money off. Well, I'm hoping to make money off Stamen in the future. But right now, this is a bet that's going to be perfect for my memory bank. It's going to be perfect to see where Stamen's at. Is it going to be a hype train derailed? We could fucking see that. We could see everybody saying after the fight on Twitter. We could be seeing everyone saying, "Oh,
he's
okay,
rubbish.
yeah, he wasn't that legit then. Now we've
You
found
remember
out."
Nagano's always been rubbish. Nagano's always been rubbish, apparently, after that last fight. This is
Exactly.
just what happens.
So that's what we could be hearing. Am I going to be surprised if Stamen's hype train's derailed? No, definitely not.
No.
And is Caraway the type of fighter that could derail a hype train? Absolutely.
I will be surprised if Stamen goes out there and finishes Caraway. Like, that I would be genuinely surprised about.
Yeah, and but do you know what I'm going to be pissed off with? If he does go out there and finishes Caraway without
We don't get
Caraway
to see
getting
him put on the
takedowns.
back foot.
Yeah, I'll be fucked off with that because that's going to
I
be
would be too.
that's going to be another fight where I can't bet him against a gritty um, grindy fighter. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, like I say, I don't know how anyone can bet this, and I know this rant has gone on way too long, but yeah, Cody Stamen's my pick. I hope that the right man wins. So if you bet Stamen and you cash, awesome, happy for you. If you bet Caraway and you cash, awesome, happy for you. But it's just not for me. And that brings us to the end of the podcast. One thing before I let you plug your stuff, Stuart. Um, just keep an eye out because keep an eye out for my website, keep an eye out on my Twitter, keep an eye out on my Bet MMA tips. I'll give you all the links in a minute. The reason why I'm saying that is because KSW 42 odds have just come out in America today. It's not out over in England just yet, but I do have a good couple of reads on that card. I will be making some bets. I'm pretty confident in that unless the prices get steamed overnight and I don't get the odds that I want by the time it comes to tomorrow morning for us in the UK. So you can follow that with Twitter. It's at Newsome_MMA. There'll be written breakdowns on my website, which is newsomemma.co.uk. If you ultimately want to watch what I'm doing through my online third-party tracked and verified record, that's betmma.tips/newsomemma. So just keep an eye out of what I'm doing. I will be posting everything that I do as I do it, as I always do. So that's me. So the floor's yours, Trader. Anything that you want to plug, you can do that now.
At the MMA Trader, you can see my absolute nonsense I spew out on a daily basis. That's about it. My hot take should be hitting newsomemma.co.uk this week because I'm actually going to write one for once because it's a card where stuff is happening, and that's about it.
Cool. If
All
that hot
been
takes includes anything about Ortega and winning, I
It
will
will
be
be.
cutting that out.
It will be exactly like that.
Cool. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, really happy that you've come on today, Stuart. So thanks for your time. Thanks for that. And
Always happy if the time allows it.
absolutely. And I shall see everybody else next week, I believe. No, we've got a break, haven't we? So it'll be
Yeah.
March the
Thank
17th
God.
for UFC London. So thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe. Everything's going really cool at the minute. I'm really happy and thankful that everyone's enjoying the stuff that I'm putting out. So yeah, see you next time.